Very warm welcome from Miani Graveside, or Miani Qabristan as it's called locally here in Lahore. I'm here actually because I wanted to see two graves. Now it's funny actually because up until last October I'd never had any interest in graveyards or gravestones, and then when I did the Princess Bamba video, which was in Gora Qabristan if I remember correctly in Lahore, I visited a number of gravestones, and there's another one in Lahore actually, Miani Graveyard, that I wanted to visit because this actually has two graves of a couple of personalities that I know quite a bit about because they crop up in a lot of places, culture, books, films. The first one is a character by the name of Dulla Bhatti. Now with Punjabis, they'll be quite familiar with that name, Dulla Bhatti, because every 13th of January, when the Lohri festival is celebrated by Punjabis, not just in Punjab but across the world, there's a few songs that are sung where he is referenced. So Dulla Bhatti saved girls who were being kidnapped and sold in markets across different places, and so he stuck his neck out, and he was against the Mughal rule at the time, and he was a son of the soil, and he ended up losing his life because, you know, he was a revolutionary type of character. And I'm here at his gravestone today, and I just want to capture some footage of this. I'll try and be respectful because, you know, there are people visiting their families, there were lots of people getting flowers, and you have to be a bit mindful because I'm just having a look if anyone's nearby. But this is his actual grave. So just close up on his gravestone, it says Mia Muhammad Abdullah Bhatti Sobrake Dulla Bhatti Marta, son of Mia Farid Bhatti, son of Mia Bijal Sandal Bhatti, date of birth 1547 AD, date of martyrdom 26 March 1589 AD, which was a Thursday. The grave's been maintained actually quite well. A lot of graves over time, and especially 1589, you would expect a lot of them to be in ruins by now, but it's quite well maintained. A lot of people do come here. And it is, I would say yes, it is well maintained. They've done a good job in looking after this. I'm just going to go around the grave. Yeah, certainly a good one to come to if you got interest in Punjabi culture, Punjabi festivals. Like I say, 13th of January is a day that's celebrated by Punjabis. Lohri, a lot of people just associated with eating peanuts, but when the name Dulla Bhatti is sung, most people will actually recognise it, and then will say they will sing songs associated with him. The second grave that I'm at, I particularly wanted to see, is the grave of the famous writer of the subcontinent, Saadat Hasan Manto. Now, a lot of his work was controversial, and he was a famous writer before the independence of India. He was famous, and probably more famous after the independence of India, where he moved to Pakistan, and a lot of his writing became controversial, and he ended up fighting a lot of cases to settle those, and he died actually in poverty. But I'm at the grave of the famous writer. This is his grave. It's Saadat Hasan Manto, born 1912. He died in 1955. Very short life. Very short life indeed when you think about it. You know, he wrote a lot of famous pieces. One of the ones that I particularly like was Toba Tek Singh that he wrote, and where the story is really about the mental patients that have to be transferred from India to Pakistan and Pakistan to India, and it just shows that when the population transfer took place, you know, how the mental patients then later on came into consideration, and they haven't got a clue what's India or Pakistan, and yet they have to be transferred. And that work actually just shows you the lunacy of it all. So it's actually quite an honour to be at his grave, because You know, he's a famous writer. Initially, you know, born in Punjab, he did a few pieces of work in Punjabi. Later on, most of his work was in Urdu. And he actually was a well-known writer in the film circles. He was best friends, I think, with people like Ashok Kumar, Nargis, and there's another actor, Sham, actually, who died. I think he fell off a horse. Who's one of his best friends as well. And you know, so he was in with the film crowd. And the chances are, if he stayed in Bombay, he would have been one of the famous writers in the Hindi film industry. But then he moved to Pakistan because, you know, the times that they were living in, you didn't know whether or not you were going to survive. When you have tensions, especially regarding the Hindu-Muslim tensions that were going on. Around that time, you had a lot of population drifting in from Karachi, lots going from Bombay. And so, you know, it's either it was up to you if you want to move or you want to stay. A lot of people did decide to stick it out, still living in Bombay today. He decided to head on over to Lahore, and he lived it out there. He thought actually it would be a good place to live, where his work would be appreciated, but he got into so much controversy because the authorities just started getting even more strict, and his work was, you know, controversial. And I think what it was with him, you know, it was controversial, but he spoke what the truth was, and he complained about the society's problems and how that you are trying to hide the problems. Why don't you admit that there are problems within the society and deal with them? But the authorities didn't want it. They want to put a lid on it and keep quiet, and he wasn't keeping quiet. And it's like his grave actually is in quite a built-up area as compared to the Dulla Bhatti one. You could walk around that, but just here it's adjoining another grave, so I can't walk around it. But this is about as far as I think you can go. It's got flowers on it as well, so people do come here. And he has got 3 daughters as well, and grandchildren. So I'm sure that they. I think one of the daughters, I think, still lives in Lahore. I think, if I'm not mistaken. But this is Saadat Hasan Manto's grave. It's been an honour being here today. This was on my list of things to see. Come here, pay your respects to a great writer, one that I appreciate a lot. And if you don't know anything about Saadat Hasan Manto, watch the Nawazuddin Siddiqui film. That gives you a bit of an idea into what his life was like. There's a bit of what they say, filming license, creative license. So don't take it word for word, but it's a pretty good depiction of the great man. So from Miani Graveyard, it's a goodbye.